Now we go to the last part of today's show, and that is where I answer a question. And today's question is all about, is it possible to say too much I love yous? All right. And this is a guy that was on Reddit, and he writes the following question. He says, I'm 38 and she's 22. We've been going out for over a year and a half and living together for 6 months. There is really only one thing that frustrates me about our relationship, and I feel like it's probably the worst thing to be fed up by in a relationship. Well, understand, I just want to say this real quick, is that you should never feel bad about if something in the relationship is not gelling with you. That could just be reality, how you feel about something, and that is perfectly fine, and it's always worth talking about those things so you guys are both on the same plane and not holding things from each other that could later build resentment. Continuing, he says, it's the frequency with which she says, I love you. Ever since we first said it, she has been like a toddler who's learned a new phrase every 2 minutes. Perhaps an exaggeration. She looks at me with a sappy voice and says, I love you at random. If I tell her it's getting to be a bit much, she storms off on the verge of crying like I hate her. This morning, by the time she left for work, I had been up for 30 minutes and she had told me she loved me 6 times in between her being in a different room getting ready and I eating breakfast. I giggled as I responded to her and mentioned this was when she was leaving for work, and she ran off silently and sourly. Ugh, not too good. He says, I really feel like sometimes I just want to respond screaming, I get it. You effing love me. I effing love you. Shut the F up. Really, it's getting so obnoxious and under my skin that I can't stand it. Am I a bad person for hating how often she tells me she loves me? Or is this really obnoxious? She says it all the time. It's practically all she ever says to me. I can accurately predict when she will say it to me by the tone in her voice leading up to it and the fact that it's been more than 30 seconds since she last said it. This and the I miss yous are really getting under my skin. On her lunch break, I get text, and every day after I come home from work, 12 hours since we've seen each other at most, I get a flurry of, I missed you. Did you miss me? No, I honestly didn't miss you. We've been apart for half a day, and on a daily basis, you act like you haven't seen me in months. He didn't say that to her. I'm just reading it like that. Okay. He says, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that this is the worst problem in our relationship, but it's just so unnerving. We are talking about getting more serious. And while I couldn't leave her over this, I also can't see myself spending the rest of my life being told the same thing over and over and over. So this is an interesting issue because this shows a perfect example of, if you've ever read the 5 love languages, the 5 languages are, I'm gonna get this right. There's words of affirmation, quality time, touch, doing stuff for each other, and I think spending quality time or something like that, okay? So a lot of times in relationships, love languages clash. You might be a person, for example, that shows love through actions. She's a person that shows love through words. And so you could be doing all this stuff and she's not feeling loved, and she could be saying all these things and you could not be feeling loved. But also, especially if you're not a words person, she could be saying all this stuff and it could be really, really annoying. Now, here's the positives, is that because women, most women, more often than not all, but a good portion of women show their feelings through expressions of words because they want you to really, they want to be able to verbalize and have you really understand explicitly how they feel. Women that have a very high interest, will say like 90% or higher, typically are feeling so much love for you that they can't help but let you know it. Sometimes it's come out through actions. Sometimes this will come out through little gifts that they'll get you. But a lot of times it's going to come out through words of affirmation. Things like, hey, I want to recognize that thing you did today was really, really grateful and it made me feel so appreciative. Or, hey, good job at the thing you did at work. I'm so proud of you, babe. Or in this woman's case, hey, I love you. Now, that could be one of many reasons why she feels the need to say that. Also, though, it could be a sign that this woman, for whatever reason, say back in her past, maybe she wasn't getting the kind of love that she really felt that she needed. And that made her really anxious to where when she's with a partner, she wants that partner to know emphatically how much she cares. That way, subconsciously, she's thinking, if I say this to him over and over again, he'll know that I feel it so strongly that he won't leave me. And so what she thinks she's doing is a positive thing, but you're recognizing that for you, it's a very strenuous thing. And I think part of that's because, and this is really true, is that when somebody says to you, hey, I love you, internally, you know that that person's saying it in part because they care for you, but also because they want that confirmation back from you that you also love them. And so it can make you feel as though you are now obligated to also say the I love you back. But if a person's saying it to you 6 times in a row, you might not feel like saying, I love you 6 times in a row. In fact, I encourage guys on average to say, I love you one time for her 3 times. So every 3 times she says, I love you, that's when you should be saying, I love you. Because honestly, coming from a guy, as much as you love the woman, it could be overkill for some women to hear that at times. And really, you should really be more in the practice of action-oriented love, meaning if she's expressing feelings to you, you're able to listen to her and hear her. You're able to be there for her in a variety of ways, whether it's financially, whether it's taking her on dates, whether it's making her feel that she's safe and secure. These are ways that as a guy you can show your love, all right? But so is it a problem that this guy is bugged by the fact that she's saying, I love you so much? Honestly, the answer is no, because I honestly believe in a relationship, both people need to really understand where the other person is coming from and recognize how they best receive love and the kinds of love showing that could also push them away and be annoying. So it'd be just like if this guy's way of showing affection to this girl, for example, was to massage her feet and she wasn't a fan of foot massages. Well, he could massage her feet all day, but would it be a surprise if she got mad at him and said, hey, could you stop touching my feet? I'm not really a fan of that. Could he be butthurt by that? Well, yeah, but that doesn't take away from the fact that she'd be annoyed by it. So for her to be frustrated and not understanding as to why he gets so bugged when she's constantly saying, I love you, here's the reality, is that in a relationship, we don't always have to get why a certain thing is bugging our partner. What our job is to respect the boundaries and the requests that the person that is with us is bringing up. So rather than this woman getting all in her feelings about this guy expressing that these I love yous all the time are bugging him, she should really be a more understanding of, hey, so why does that bug you? Or maybe it is something about me that I say it all the time because I really do feel it, but I really don't know why I'm saying it all the time. Let me go explore that, because ultimately, let's face it, guys, if a woman is all doughy-eyed for you and is constantly doing things for you, we already know that she loves us. So there really isn't a need for her to have to say it all the time. But if she's feeling that she needs to, it may just be that she needs some more assurance that, hey, you know what, babe, I know you care for me, and I already know it so much that you don't have to say it all the time for me to recognize that feeling is there. Now, that said, if that is a thing that you recognize that you do all the time, then we need to set up a system whereby maybe you only say it once a day. Like, when I was a younger kid, I had a nickname that my mom called me that as I got into my teenage years, I wasn't a fan of. But I didn't completely say, hey, mom, stop calling me that thing. What I said was, hey, you know what? Only on holidays and my birthday can you now call me this name. Because I recognize that was an important part of your connection with me as a kid. I'm not a kid anymore, but since that still brings you some level of pleasure, makes you feel connected to me, that's fine. If you only do it on these days, then I will not be bugged on these days. When you say it, I will completely respect it. And she was able to respect that. So a few times a year I got to hear that nickname, but it doesn't bug me because I'm not hearing it every single day like I used to. And so as the guy in the relationship, oftentimes women are looking for your guidance on how you want to be treated. They're looking for what boundaries are you setting in place. And here's the thing though, when you set those boundaries initially, you may get some pushback. In this case, he's saying, hey babe, I don't need to hear I love you all the time. Yeah, she's probably going to cry. She's going to be hurt. I know as an introvert, I've dated women whereby I've said, hey, as an introvert, I'm going to need my alone time at times. And that may mean doing things like going to a hotel solo for a night without you. And having those conversations with certain women made them feel a certain way. They'd be crying, how could you do this without me? Why would you want to not go someplace without me? I'm so great, yada, yada, yada. And I just stand my ground and say, look, I know it hurt your feelings, but this is not about you. This is about me. And this is about what's going to be best for me in this relationship. I know there are going to be times when I need my alone time without you. And if you're not able to respect that, then I don't know how this is going to work, because it's not about you and about trying to hurt your feelings. And it's not a hit on how bad or good of a person you are. This is a me thing. So those are the conversations that you have to have. And this guy, the fact that he wrote this letter means that he's fearful of, well, if I try to push too hard, she's going to be hurt. And she might be hurt. She might come against a wall where she didn't realize before, hey, I didn't recognize that saying I love you and being told not to say it so much was going to have such an effect on me. But that's something she's got to explore. But ultimately, as the guy, you have to stand firm and say, I know this may hurt your feelings. Here's why. I don't need to hear it as much. Ultimately, babe, I really do care and love you, and I know you love me, so I don't need to hear it all the time. But as a compromise, maybe say it once or twice a day versus saying it to me 6 times in 30 minutes. Like, that's a little obsessive, okay? But be willing to have those conversations. And also recognize, too, that women, once you take them through the pains of that, once you're able to set those boundaries, once she's able to really see how serious you are about it, but that's not taking away your love for her, they'll come back to you later and say things like, hey, I just want to say, I really respect the way you were able to set up a boundary with me. Like, the things that they'll fight you on in the moment when you're talking about them, they'll later say, I respect you for doing that thing because I really need to get over myself and get past that thing. So don't look at that as a bad confrontation. Look at it as this is your chance as a guy, as a 28-year-old guy, to really test out your ability to set boundaries, set standards, and let a woman know what you will and will not accept that's going to be beneficial to you in the relationship. Because if you don't do it now, this is a small test of if you don't pass this and you just let her get the way that she wants, then later on when other things come up that you are against, she just knows that if she just cries a little bit and whines a little bit, she's going to get her way. And that could be to the detriment of the relationship if you're trying to stand ground on some stuff later on that she's trying not to get you to stand ground on, but that could actually prove to be harmful or hurtful to your relationship. All right? So do that now. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself and get her to say, I love you a lot less. If you found the info in this episode to be helpful, please show your support by clicking on the tip jar tab, the link of which can be found at the website and in the description below. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this episode and catch new episodes right here on YouTube or wherever podcasts can be found. In the meantime, be sure to check out these other episodes so you too can learn to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.